Hey everyone, this is Kyle with Simulation Lab. Um, Today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to be rigging a character, and in the spirit of the holiday season, we're going to be rigging this Nutcracker dude. And so the idea with this one, this is going to be a working session rather than more of a tutorial. Um, but I'm going to rig this character using the standard max biped, and I'm going to show you how to um, modify the biped bone structure and skin the biped using this model that I have, um, and uh, set up skin weighting and stuff like that using the skin modifier, and then we're gonna maybe apply some um, animation to him. Maybe like the idea here is that like he maybe he'll do some like karate or something and throw some chestnuts at him instead of just like biting on him. Maybe we'll just like you know do some kind of goofy animations to like break the nuts, and then maybe I don't know. I have an idea of like maybe a guy walks up to him and brings a nut to him and he kicks him in the nuts. I don't know. So we could do all kinds of stuff with that. So once we have this rigged, and then we can apply some animations to him, and then we can even use TyFlow to create an actor out of the rigged character, out of the rigged Nutcracker guy, and then do all kinds of stuff with him using TyFlow. So go ahead and get started. We'll set up a biped. Okay, and got him set up, and we're gonna go into structure and maybe make him a little bit taller here. Can't really see what he's doing here. Let's see the front view. That's about maybe about there would be good. Yeah, maybe a little shorter. That's good. Okay, so now that we have that started, we can go in and start adjusting these bones. But before I do that, I'm going to remove all the fingers because we don't have any fingers. I don't have any toes. And I just want to see, maybe we'll remove some of the pelvis, I'm sorry, the spine links. Maybe we'll just have two spine links. I think that'd be good. Yep. Okay, now I can start, before we go further here, object properties, uh, do see-through, so you kind of see what we're looking at, and then I'll just change my little selector to bones, and then go back to our standard pose here, and then we're going to start modifying this stuff. I think that'll be good. And we want the bones to effectively encompass the scale of the character's model, right? And then we're just going to focus on one side. I think we'll just focus on the right side for right now. And then we'll copy all the, we'll copy everything over to the left side. Okay. So now that we have that set up, that's basically the leg, and then we'll go ahead and adjust our foot a little bit. Foot pretty big. And the idea here is that we want to, oops, be able to use the bones of the biped as um, like to, to use them as like for physics collision later on if we do end up creating a tie actor from it. Okay, so I got his head, gigantic. um, Basically, I just moved around these bones on the right side, so we'll go ahead and grab these ones. All of these bones for the, sorry, this is his, I guess his left, his left side. And we'll go ahead and copy and paste, set up a little collection here. So we'll go ahead and create collection, and we can name this left side. Do copy posture, and then we'll paste posture to the opposite side. So now that we have that set up, pretty simple to do, right? Um, that should be pretty good as far as his bones go. Um, we could go back and adjust this stuff a little bit more like later on, but I think as far as skinning and weighting this stuff, it should be pretty good for right now at least. Um, so with that done, go ahead and exit figure mode, and we'll continue here. I'll jump out of um, my bone selection tool, go to all, and then under modifiers for this stack, I'll do skin. And I'm going to go ahead and save. Good to incrementally save your stuff all the time. And then, yep, and then we can go ahead and click bones. We can add the bones. And from here, you could display or expand all. And then we can just go ahead and copy all the bones. Okay. So now I'll show you what happens if we do move some of this stuff around. Like say if I move his hand. Ew, it's not really working that well, huh? So we're going to have to go ahead and adjust all of the weights. That one's not too, busy leg's not too bad, but definitely needs some work. Um, and for this example, I'm just going to be roughly uh, rigging this character, and I don't care particularly about the mesh deformations of when the character moves his appendages. It's going to stretch the mesh, and that's okay with me. If I wanted to do this in a different way, I could do it where, um, the bones themselves um, are not affecting the stretching of the mesh too much, and it can make it more robotic looking, which is cool. But for this example, I do want to add some like cool. I wanted to make him feel kind of human, so I do want that mesh deformation to happen. So we're gonna have to adjust our bone or our weights. So go in here and do edit envelopes, and you can see when I go to edit envelopes in the skin modifier, I can click on the individual bones, and I can see where each bone is affecting the mesh. And I can click on these. This might be a little hard to see, but I can click on the individual little dots here, and I can drag these down. And this is a good way to like kind of rough it out, and then you can go back and more precisely tune this stuff. So um, I know for sure I don't want the um, opposite leg being affected by this leg, obviously. Um, and so that is just one thing to be mindful of. So you have to just kind of adjust this stuff here. I'm just going to do it a little bit more roughly for now. And then I can go back later and be more precise with it. Okay, so from here, I can go ahead and turn on vertices, select vertices here, and then you can see that I can select whatever vertices that I'd like um, while I have this bone active, right? And I can go down here in this little weight tool, bring that up This is super helpful. So for this bone particularly, I want to affect all of these vertices, I think. Actually, maybe we'll make this his knee. So I just want it to really affect these vertices. One more. There we go. A little bit more at the bottom there. Yeah, perfect. And so I can set that to 1. And you notice when I set it to 1, it makes all of the selected vertices red. That means it's like definitely being affected. And then everything else is yellow and blue. It's being slightly affected. Right? So I can go ahead and select his knee now, because it is part of this bone. Maybe I'll do like from here up to here, and I'll set that to like 0.75. So that'll make it like an orange. So that's good. And if I grab my foot here and drag it up, you can see it's acting a little weird. So we got to adjust that a little bit more. Maybe actually that the pelvis is looking pretty good. That's kind of what I want, but I don't want it to be affecting these vertices up here too much. So we'll adjust that. We'll maybe make these like 0.25 around his crotch area, and oops, and we'll continue playing with the knee a little bit. I grab the foot bone here and move it up. It passes through his little skirt there, which is fine. I think that's good enough for our purposes. I don't want to have uh, the hip bone being affected or affecting the pelvis because it just looks a little strange when it stretches. So I think we'll leave it like that for right now. So the leg is looking pretty good. So we'll continue and we'll weight the pelvis and we'll continue with the arms. Okay, so now I have all of the weights set up for the leg. There's left leg there, so that's working pretty great. I can move it around. It passes through his little skirt part of his jacket, but that's not a really big deal. And I got the weights for the arm figured out. So that's looking pretty good. So it's affecting everything that I want it to, and it looks pretty fluid, and it almost looks like he's made a rubber or something, which is pretty nice. I mean, I could like further adjust like the bicep and stuff, but I think for now this should be pretty nice. So I'll kind of show you what I did for the weighting. Just make that see-through. For the arm, I grabbed all of the vertices at the top there and made all those one. And then I just left the default weights assigned by the little cage. Um, I left those defaults. So basically, all these are yellow. That's affecting this, and I can probably weight that like this ring down here a little bit more, so it kind of flexes at the bicep or at the top of the at the bottom of the bicep right there, or the under the elbow. But I think for now that's probably okay. And then I weighted all of the bones or with the vertices here. I gave it a little bit of a fall off there into the arm, into the shoulder blade, and then all of these vertices along this little cylinder here for the pivot. Left those at 1. So now what we could do is continue. Okay. Um, and we can copy the weights over to the other side. So I think what I want to do, I can copy, paste green to blue bones. What is this? Paste blue to green. That's what I want to do. Okay, so that should work. Okay, guys. So I adjusted his right side to match the left, being that the mirror mode didn't copy the vertice weights as accurately as I'd planned. Sometimes that doesn't work that well, so you just kind of have to go back and like tweak some stuff. Um, but for the most part, I have the weights acting as they should. So I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. So I'm going to close this weight tool, and I'll show you what we got. If I grab his hand, moves, the hand also kind of moves, wiggles the whole glove, which is fine. Um, and then if I adjust this, it kind of turns his whole pelvis. The only strange thing is I have to add the this guy to his bottom jaw thing to the rig, but that's okay. We'll do that. So the legs are looking okay. The knees are a little strange, but I think for the most part it'll do for what we intend to do with it. It's probably fine. I might go back and adjust that a little bit later. The head's also a little bit weird because if he like moves his head, you can see his neck, which his neck isn't really there. So we might have to just be careful with that. And otherwise, like the arms are like doing what they should. Um, I might adjust the weights of the bicep a little bit more, like I said, because if he bends it too far, it looks a little bit fake. Um, but I mean, for our purposes, the animation is going to be moving pretty fast. It might be okay. So yeah, I might just do a little bit more cleanup on it, and then we'll be good to go. We'll start applying some biped animations to him. Okay, so I adjusted a few more things, cleaned up the legs a little bit so the knee joint is a little bit more fluid, a little bit more clean, so it doesn't pull too much. So those are looking pretty good. And and I adjusted the weights of the bicep a little bit so it doesn't look so crazy. It still looks a little bit too extreme, uh, but for the most part, it'll work fine. Um, so we'll go ahead and make this not see-through anymore. So our rig is pretty much done. What I have left to do is add this guy to his bottom jaw to the rig, which I could add to the skin. But I think what I might want to do is just like make this a separate piece. Uh, So I think what I want to do with this for right now, at least, maybe not add it as a skin component, but maybe I'll just link it to a bone. or the spine bone for now. So that's what we'll do for right now. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and link this to that bone. That way, anywhere this bone moves, that is going to move as well, and it's still going to be, I'm still going to be able to adjust it and move his mouth open and stuff during an animation. So I think that'll be good for right now. I just gotta adjust this a little bit. Go. Hi, hello, hey. All right, cool. Okay, so now that I have the character rigged up how I like it, let's start adding some animations to him. So I'm going to click on one of the bones, and then under biped, I'm going to go to motion flow mode, and then I'm going to show the graph here. And so we're going to start to define some of the BIP files and link them together in a sequence. And the sequence is going to dictate the character's actions. So create multiple clips, and I could just add all of these, but I'm going to add them separately how I'm going to put them into the sequence. So do that one first, the still pose, and then he's going to do the slap. And then let's do the jump round kick, and then I'll do the punch. It's a pretty quick one. And then fly spin kick, and then he'll end again with the still pose. So now that I have all those in there, I'm going to go and link them all together, add some transitions, and then under scripts, go to define script, and then I'm just going to add all of these to my list, and then we're good with the flow graph for now, so we can close that. And if we play this, it's going to play, so it's going to transition from the still pose to that first slap animation, and then just transitions to the kick, and then he does a quick little punch there, which I could adjust the timing of that, right? And then does the fly spin kick, and then ends in the spin, the still pose mode, which is cool. So that's what we want. But he ends up facing away from the camera, so what we could do is adjust the angle of some of these things. So I think for the punch, we'll go to edit transition, and then I'm going to change that to 90. So that gives us, when he does the punch, he turns 90 degrees this way. Alright, cool. And then fly spin kick, we'll edit that, and we'll do something like 125. Let's decrease that a little bit. Yeah. So he ends up facing the direction of the camera, which is what we want. Yeah, so now we can animate the mouth opening up a little bit. So maybe like let's put a camera in the scene. Adjust my resolution here. Real quick, samples, I'm going to do 12, 24 for max depth, 0, 0, 1 for noise threshold. And under my size, I'm going to do 1080 by 1080. Show safe frames. And then, yeah, we're going to have to animate the camera. Hi, Buzz. Come here, boy. Alright. Come say hi to everybody. Ooh, he's got his ball. Look at this. Look at this boy. Oh, boy. Oh, his name's Buzz, and he's a little Havanese puppy. We just got him about a month ago, and we just gave him a bath. Yeah, so nice and clean and full of energy. Mm-hmm. Want your ball? Hmm? Ball? Great. Now he will never leave me alone. That's okay. Anyway, so back here, I might just adjust my focal point. Maybe I'll put it back on him. Maybe put it back like there. Okay, so now what we're going to do, now that we have our character animated and our camera going, let's just check that out. So I adjust the camera a little bit. Basically, it just follows the character. I'm not sure if I want to keep it like this, but it's looking pretty cool for right now. So what I'm going to do now is I have my walnut here, and I'm going to set up a TyFlow um, emitter to launch the walnuts at the character, and then once they hit the character, then they're going to fracture. Pieces going to go everywhere. So to make that happen, I have to shell this. I have to add a little shell to it. Make a little bit inward. That should be good. Usually pretty thick. That way it won't just be like a solid mass, so like the fragments will break apart, which would be kind of cool. I'm not going to worry too much about having the inner guts of the walnut come out or anything. Usually they're pretty solid, but for this it's just going to be like shell fragments kind of blasting apart. So now we have that set up. I'm going to go ahead and create a TyFlow object. Scene. I'm going to add this to my nut layer. That's what we're doing now. And yeah, so bring this guy up. I'm going to add in real quick a Tiflow icon here. And basically we're going to have it follow the camera. Something like that. Yeah, that should be good. And then I can go ahead and link this to the camera if I want. So now wherever the camera moves, the Tiflow emitter will move as well, which is cool. And I can independently control that. Not sure if I want it to be launching directly at him. Yeah, it might look cool. We'll see. Okay, so now I will pop open my TyFlow object here. Pop open the editor, as you can see. And I'm going to drag this out a little bit here. Okay, we're going to birth, maybe starting from frame 40 to 120 for now, I'm not sure, and then we'll do like 10. Yeah, do a shape operator. Okay, so got my shape operator in there. Reference node is the nut. And we'll go ahead and display geometry. And I can go ahead and hide my original nut model. I don't need that. Okay, and then do a position icon. Surface will be our emitter. And so it should start shooting them out now. Yeah, good. So they come out. I'm gonna have to add a speed operator, and we'll do icon along icon arrow. We'll pick our icon. So now they'll start shooting out toward him, which that's cool. I might want to scale those up a little bit. Let's do 150. Yeah, cool. And I might want to, I'm going to rotate them just randomly. That's good. Okay, so from here, I want to fracture them. Okay, and so they're fractured. I'll do like 30. Yeah, that might be cool. Okay, so we'll leave it at 30. Maybe we'll adjust that later. But yeah, you can see the little fracture lines in the walnut mesh now, which that's cool. So now what we want to have happen is we're going to use a physics operator. Do physics shape, and then switch, and we're going to turn it off. And then once it hits, we'll do like a surface test. Once it hits our character, distance 10 millimeters, that should be okay. Then it switches the physics simulation to dynamic, and then that might work. Let's just see how that looks. Okay, good. Okay, I was able to figure it out. So, birthed 40 to 180. I got my spin working, and what I had to do is I fractured after all this stuff happened, and then I converted it to a physics objects and bound them together with glue, um, rigid glue, and then I can get rid of this. And then upon a surface test, it does a physics break, random per particle. I did like 30 per frame or something. So I can adjust that a little bit. So what that does is it launches the walnuts at him, and then once they hit his body, then they break. Otherwise, they don't break. So that's looking pretty cool. So he does some karate kicks, bashes them apart. Otherwise, they stay pretty much whole, which is what I want. So watch it. Happens a little fast, so I could probably slow them down a little bit. Maybe reduce my speed a little bit more. Down to the 6, and then we might like rotate this guy up a little bit, so they kind of lob up towards him. Now I might just add a lot more at 50. It's looking pretty cool. Plays out. Alright guys, so now that we have that set up, I added a bunch more walnuts to the scene. Might do even more. I'm not really sure how this is going to really play out, but starting to like the way it looks. Kind of loops. I might do some trickery in post and kind of get it to loop a little bit better. It's not really intended to be a perfect loop, but it's a quick little animation. It's kind of fun. Um, so yeah, that covers it really as far as the extent of like how much I wanted to cover in this video. So yeah, we covered rigging a mesh for the character. Then we applied some bip files to him as sort of like an expression of like the movement of the character, and uh, made a TyFlow object to launch some walnuts at him, and he breaks them dynamically when he contacts them, which is really cool. So now from here, I'm probably going to maybe add a few accoutrements to the scene, maybe add like a Christmas tree and some other stuff to kind of spruce it up and make it look a little bit more Christmassy. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll be sure to share this piece to social media and stuff and to YouTube. Um, but yeah, if you found the video to be helpful, if you liked it, please leave a comment in the comment section below, and subscribe and hit the like button and all that stuff. And yeah, happy holidays, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.